What if I told you that your life is not just shaped by the choices you make, but also by invisible forces working silently around you, forces of kindness, courage, sacrifice, and hope? Stay with me until the end, because the story I'm about to share will reveal how unseen hands often guide us when we least expect it. And before we begin, if you believe in the power of kindness, hit that like button and subscribe to Kindness Chronicles, where real stories remind us that humanity still shines brightest in the dark. It began on an ordinary Tuesday morning in a small city tucked between rolling hills and a river that whispered through the streets like a quiet friend. Sarah, a schoolteacher in her mid-30s, woke up with her usual routine: coffee, a glance at her lesson plan, and a moment at the window where the sun painted gold streaks across the horizon. But beneath that ordinary start, something extraordinary had already begun to stir, an unseen force weaving itself into her life. That day, Sarah noticed a boy sitting alone outside her classroom long before the bell rang. His name was Liam, a quiet 12-year-old with eyes that held more storms than laughter. His classmates often teased him for being different. Sarah had tried many times to reach him, but his walls were high and guarded. Still, something about him sitting there, chin pressed into his knees, backpack clutched tight, pulled at her heart. "Good morning, Liam," she said softly, kneeling down to his level. "You're here early." He looked up but said nothing. Sarah almost walked away, but something made her stay. An invisible tug. A whisper that said, "Don't leave him alone today." And so, she sat beside him in silence. For the first time, Liam spoke, his voice barely above a whisper. "Do you ever feel like the world doesn't see you?" The question pierced her. Sarah knew that feeling too well. Years ago, after losing her younger brother in a car accident, she had walked through life invisible, smiling outside, shattering inside. It was her mother's gentle hand on her shoulder, her father's unwavering patience, and the kindness of a stranger at the park one evening, who simply said, "I see your pain, and I believe you'll heal," that kept her alive. Unseen forces. She had never forgotten. "Yes," she replied honestly. "I do. But sometimes, the world sees you in ways you can't see yourself. Sometimes, there are people who notice your light even when you don't." Liam looked at her with eyes wide, as if hearing something he had never believed possible. That single moment, Sarah didn't realize, was the first spark of change. Later that day, after class ended, Liam lingered behind. "Miss Sarah, could you tell me a story?" he asked timidly. She smiled, surprised. "Of course. What kind of story?" "Any story. Just, not about heroes with capes. I want one about real people." And so, Sarah told him about her brother, how he loved painting sunsets, how his laughter filled the house, and how losing him taught her that love doesn't vanish even when people do. She explained how she learned that unseen acts of kindness, a smile, a listening ear, a moment of patience, were the forces that shaped healing. As she spoke, Liam leaned in, listening as if every word was a lifeline. When she finished, he nodded slowly and whispered, "Maybe the world does see me, after all." That same evening, across town, another unseen force was stirring. Michael, a firefighter, had just finished his shift. Tired and sweaty, he sat in his truck outside the station, staring at his phone. On the screen was a message from his estranged father. They hadn't spoken in years after an argument that tore their bond apart. Michael wanted to ignore it, but something in his chest, again, that invisible tug, made him open the message. It read simply, "I'm sorry. I don't want to leave this world without making things right with you." Michael's hands trembled. His father had always been a hard man, unwilling to admit mistakes. But here it was, fragile, raw, human. Michael didn't know it yet, but answering that message would set off a chain of events connecting him, Sarah, and Liam in ways none of them could imagine. The next week, Sarah decided to start a small project in her classroom called Unseen Heroes. Each student was asked to write down something kind someone had done for them in secret, or something kind they had done for someone else without being noticed. The idea was to show that invisible forces of kindness were always around. At first, the students groaned. But then stories began to surface: a neighbor leaving food at the door when someone's family was sick, a sibling secretly fixing a broken toy, a classmate slipping an encouraging note into another's backpack. Even Liam participated. His note read, "Someone sat beside me when I thought no one cared." Sarah's heart swelled. That unseen force, her choice to sit with him, was already shaping his world. Meanwhile, Michael, after days of hesitation, visited his father. Their reunion was awkward, but when his father's frail hand reached out to hold his, Michael felt years of anger dissolve into something softer. Forgiveness didn't erase the past, but it allowed healing to begin. He walked away that night lighter than he had in years, unaware that soon, his path would intersect with Sarah's in an unexpected moment of fate. And so, beneath the ordinary rhythm of life, threads of invisible kindness, forgiveness, and courage were being woven together. Sarah's quiet decision to see Liam, Michael's brave choice to answer his father, Liam's willingness to believe in unseen care, these were forces shaping not just their world, but the lives around them. But little did they know, a storm, both literal and metaphorical, was about to test how strong those unseen forces could truly be. Backhand index pointing right. And before we dive into the next chapter, if this story has touched your heart, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to Kindness Chronicles. Together, let's spread more stories of the unseen forces that hold humanity together.